again, we are always in some part of the market cycle, and you have to be preparing and planning for all those different parts of the market cycle. My neighbor, who is a brilliant guy, I sat with him one day for lunch, and one of the things that he told me that has stuck with me for years was, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as real estate investors, our job is to look for the disruption in the market. Our job is to look for the disruption in the market, find out what is going wrong. Then our job is to come up with a solution for that disruption, and then our job is to implement that solution over and over and over again before anybody else figures it out, right? And then at the same time be looking for that next disruption in the marketplace. Right now we have several disruptions in our marketplace that are having us reevaluate the strategies that we use and thinking differently to solve those disruptions, to come up with more ways to make money. Because for Phil and I, no matter what is on the other line when that seller lead comes in, we have dedicated ourselves to being a creative real estate investor to find solutions for whatever problem that seller has, right? I see so many new real estate investors who say, I only want to use this one strategy, right? If you are using just one strategy, your real estate investing will do well, but usually you'll only see it get up to this level. It's not until you adopt multiple strategies that you'll be able to significantly increase your income, because you'll have an answer for every call that comes in, not just some of the calls that come in. And I think Phil demonstrated that during his presentation earlier tonight. So up is the new up. For a long time in this market, I felt like I said flat is the new up, and right now we're in an up is the new up. Markets are improving around the country and have been improving, but they are especially improving here, right here in the Austin area. For us, the question is, the presentation is, well, what strategies work during an up market? And the answer is, they all do, opportunistically. But some strategies work better in an up market than they do in a down market. We're going to go and talk through some of those things. For us right now, we're doing 6 new builds right now. So we are making some big long-term gambles, right? And I don't want to call them gambles. I'm an investor, I'm not a gambler. But we are making some big long-term decisions based on where we are in the market cycle right now. And I'll share with you this little drawing right here. One of our colleagues, who's also a hard money lender and been investing for about 25 years, wrote this on a chart one time for Phil and I and said, guys, this is all you need to know about the real estate market. And then he just kind of and walked away. And I'm thinking, okay, let's hear what you have to say. And basically, what he showed us is, real estate is always in some part of the market cycle, right? And it's our job to know, as good real estate investors who want to stay unemployable for the long term, it's our job to know what part of the market cycle that we're actually in. And invest accordingly, and invest safely, if you will. And one of the things that he explained about this is, if you go back to look at the average price in Austin, for example, in 1970, average price in Austin in 1970, about $40,000, $45,000. Average price city of Austin today, like $430,000, right? It was not a beautiful straight line just like this, right? It was a line that was a series of different market cycles, right? And going forward from end of 26, starting in 2016, January 2017, it will continue to be a series of market cycles. People do well in some of these market cycles. Some people don't do well. There are plenty of people that get washed out. I'll tell you guys that one of the gifts that we used to give away with membership to the Austin RNC was a t-shirt that said, unemployable. And I think some people just wanted to give this to their boss as they were walking out the door, throwing their face. But The only way that you, number one, become unemployable, and number two, stay unemployable, is if you are a student of the market, if you are studying and understand where we are in the market cycle, so you can make your decisions accordingly. So a typical market cycle is 3 to 5 years up, 1 to 3 years down, 3 to 5 years up, 1 to 3 years down. Where are we in the current market cycle? We are off the chart. Who said that? Who said that? You said. Lots of you guys. Okay, good. So this market in Austin, Texas started to turn around in roughly summer of 2011. Started to turn around in roughly summer of 2011. We are now winter of 2017. We are now officially off this chart, right? So we're like up here. And that's a little nerve-wracking, right? When you think like, okay, well, when's the other shoe about to drop? And I'll save you some of the anxiety just by telling you that we are a long ways from that other shoe dropping like it would in a typical market cycle. And why is that? Part of the reason is because we were in the down part of the last market cycle, and it was really more of a flat part of the last market cycle. For so painfully long, for those of you guys who were in the real estate business during that last time frame. And I think there was a lot of pent-up demand. So that pent-up demand has now been released, but what's the other part, some of the other things that are contributing to us continuing to be in an up part of the market cycle? Well, there's our job growth, so we have significant job growth. There's our interest rate, so we've had relatively low, not relatively, let's forget it. We've had incredibly low interest rates. You have to have kind of that long-term perspective. Incredibly low interest rates for the last several years. Is it up? Yes, it's up, but again, get that long-term perspective. Talk to somebody to your right or to your left who got, an interest rate that was, 10 to 18% at some point, right? So this is an incredibly low interest rate. We have low unemployment, right? So a lot of the foundations, a lot of the fundamentals are strong from that standpoint. The other part of the fundamentals that you need to look at is where we are from an inventory standpoint and where we are from a pricing standpoint. So I told you earlier during the market update that our inventory is at 2 months of inventory, and our historical inventory is closer to 6 to 6.5 months of inventory. If we were starting to grow that inventory from 2 months to 3 months, and then from 3 months to 4 months, and I saw, because it takes, 2 points to make a line, and I saw that, I'd be saying, guys, we're on the pivot of some type of a change. I'm not seeing that. In fact, we're seeing inventory go from 2.6 months to 2.2 months to 2 months this month, which is quite unbelievable. So that's going to be another thing that's going to contribute to us staying in the up part of the market cycle until, and we will see some what we call buyer fatigue, which is I'm sick of going to look at houses and I don't even walk in the door and it's already under contract, so they just kind of sign up for a lease. But we also kind of saw some letting go of that buyer fatigue in this past November and December, because what was Gay Yellen telling everybody she was about to do? Who's Gay Yellen? She's the chair of the Federal Reserve, so she was saying we're going to raise rates. Now she'd been saying the same line for about the last 2 years, right? But something would always happen that would make her slow down. And in Texas, we get the huge benefit of being in, Texas is has the 8th largest GDP in the world, right? Just right here where, in Texas where we live. And being, one of the top contributors to GDP in the United States of America. So even though Texas is up and up, a lot of parts of the rest of the country are still doing okay, right? Still recovering, still a little shaky in some cases. And when they set the interest rate, they don't set the interest rate in Texas. They set it at the very top. So we here in Texas get the benefit of some of the other states not doing as well, then keeping down that interest rate, even though Texas is doing phenomenal, okay? One thing that could break us, and I'm going too much into the market update now, is affordability. So for those of you guys who are long-term Austinites, you're going to hear a lot of, well, I remember when. For those of you all who moved here from California, you're like, party! This is a great, like, this is a 3-for-1 sale, man. This is awesome, right? So it's all about the perspective. We'll talk about that more in the market update next month. But again, I want you to think about where we are in the market cycle and both the opportunities and the risk in each part of that market cycle. So let's talk about some of the different strategies. Wholesaling. You've probably never heard of the book. Has anybody in here ever heard of the book, The Millionaire Wholesaler? There's always one person who said, oh, I read it, it was a bestseller. Guys, there is no such book, because there is no such thing, right? You're not going to make millions and millions of dollars by wholesaling because you have too much competition. If you have to pay 65% of ARV managed repairs to get that deal, and I'm willing to pay 70%, if I get in there and competing against you, I'm going to win, right? It's hard to make a long-term living being a wholesaler. But it's great getting started strategy. But for us, even though we do a ton of deals and we use all these different strategies, and even though wholesaling is one of those kind of foundational or kind of getting started strategies, I still wholesale from time to time on deals that I'm not necessarily interested in, or deals that are outside of my personal bailiwick, or deals that have more risk associated with them than I want to take on. I'll tell you, we did a wholesale of a property in Allendale. And Allendale's, for those of you guys, Anderson Lane to Stackish area and Mopac to Burnett Road, right? That's a hot area, right? Why would you wholesale a deal in there? Because part of that Allendale area backs to the railroad track and to Mopac, right? So one of the opportunities we got was one of those houses. And those houses always sell for less. They always take longer to sell. And so there's sometimes a little bit of annoyance on that. But a quick way to make a money off of that is to sell it to another investor who says, I'll take on that risk, right? You want to have these different buyers and premium buyers as part of your power team or your extended team to be able to sell some of these properties at a premium. We also will wholesale these properties when cash is low, right? You can get a hard money loan, you can do a private money loan, but if you're trying to keep your cash ready to work on all the other projects that you have, and you don't want to get overextended, because getting overextended is one of the #1 sins of both new and experienced real estate investors when the market is up, meaning they have too many interest payments to make. And how do you know that you see them? There's a company that's on the foreclosure list. It's been on the foreclosure list for the last couple of months. It's called like Carpe Deuce Properties. Anybody seen them? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Has anybody looked at those? So they are real estate, and it's, you know, they're an investor because it's their company name, LLC, right? They're a company that's designed, and they've got like 3 or 4 properties this month that are on the foreclosure list, and they've been on the foreclosure list for a while now. I don't know their exact situation, but what I do see is a lot of investors who get overextended and cannot pay their monthly debt service, right? Debt service and kind of manage it, it's like forecasting, right? Don't just think about what's in the bank account today, but you got to forecast out in the future because you're going to be paying money for your renovation as well as money for your debt service, as well as who got to write, who's been writing, who's been depressed because they've been writing property tax payments checks besides me this month, yes? Like, man, I'm not even gonna tell you, it's gonna stress me out. Anyway, that gets a little stressful, right? So you have the debt service, you have the property tax service. You need to think about these things and do your forecasting, and you may decide you're going to wholesale, or you're going to partner with another investor who's going to bring the funds, and then they get to do the debt service, and you get to split the deal. Buying subject to, for me, man, there is no strategy more powerful for financing a deal out there than buying subject to the existing financing. after you've used all of your current cash on hand. And I see a lot of smart people, wealthy people. When they get into real estate investing, they make the mistake of using all of their own capital and then saying, and I quote, "Oh shit," right? That's an exact quote, by the way. That's a technical term, Phil. My engineer husband will come back here and explain it in a little while. But what happens is like, oh man, now I don't have any money to buy any more deals. So people with money kind of go at this a little bit backwards, meaning they fund all of their own deals at first, and then they start saying, oh, well now I better start looking for creative ways to fund. Versus people with no money, they automatically out of the chute start looking for creative ways to fund their deals. So I will encourage all of you guys, with money or without money, to think about using this strategy as a way to extend your capital and extend the amount of properties that you can invest in as quickly as possible. So more strategies. For us in an upmarket, we love to rehab, we love to fix and flip, we love to build new houses. Right now we're building 6 new houses. And for where we are in the market cycle, where the market has legs to go at least another 12 months, and normally I don't like to forecast after 12 months just because crazy stuff can happen beyond that. But this is the time to take on those longer lead projects, right? These are the time to take on the big risk, big reward projects, and those are the types of things that we like to look for. Of course, you do have to make sure, again, that you can hit your debt service number so you do not end up on the foreclosure list. Let's see, buy and hold. For us, Phil and I, we are big buy and hold investors. In fact, we are, some of the stories that I tell you guys are from our personal investing. So when we rolled out of corporate America, we rolled out with money. We rolled out with savings. We rolled out with money in our 401k. And a lot of the properties that we bought early on, we bought with our own cash. And for us, the holy grail to us is rental properties, because we want to get wealthy, we want to get rich, and you do that by buying and holding these properties. And we also have the Bluebell ice cream investing philosophy. Yes, and those. Yes. We eat all we can, and we sell the rest. So we eat, right? Everything that we can afford to keep, right? And then we sell just enough to fund our lifestyle and do the things that we enjoy with the things that we enjoy doing them with, right? So many times in our investing career, we have been incredibly asset rich and incredibly cash poor, right? So as a real estate investor, it's, you may have 10 projects going, right? And you look at your balance sheet, and you're like, oh, yeah. And then you look at your bank account, and you're like, oh, we're having ramen noodles again tonight, honey, right? That's just the real estate, financial life cycle in some cases. You're doing the right thing, right? You're making sacrifices so that you can keep those properties. And I recommend that. It's worked really well for us as well. And you want to keep these opportunistically. Some of them may turn into such great deals. I see a lot of people now who are saying, oh, I was going to keep it as a rental property, but now I'm going to just go ahead and fix and flip it. I've already got offers on it. One of the things that Phil and I used to do is our process. I think Phil told you our offer process. Did they tell you that? Ready, fire, aim? Yeah, ready, fire, aim. That's our offer process. So a lot of times we'll get a property under contract. We're not going to know what the exit strategy is. And I remember one house in particular, it was on Cooper Lane, and Phil's like, well, what do you want to do with this? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm starting to rehab though. He's like, well, I kind of want to keep it. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of do too. And we decided that we were going to put it both for lease and for sale, and just say, whichever one happened first. And that was kind of fun to be able to do. That was a fun. So we hired we hired a hungrier realtor for the sale than we did for the lease. Oh, you bet she got that thing under contract quick, right? Yeah, because she knew that we were kind of doing that strategy. But you also see a lot of investors who get into the opposite problem, which is, I bought this property for a fix and flip, but I bought it from a wholesaler, and I didn't find out until after that their ARV was wrong, and I didn't find out until after that their repairs were wrong, and then I kind of screwed up a couple other things along the way. So now I cannot afford to sell it. So what that means is they become forced landlords, yes? Not a fun place to be, but the truth is, any sin that you commit as a buy and hold real estate investor will be washed away as long as you what? Sell. No! You're even sitting on this in the front row! Come on! As long as you hold it long enough, right? Because we're seeing property values go up at a rate of 6 to 8% year over year. So it will eventually get there. All right, some of the other strategies. Short sales. There are not a lot of short sales in this market, right? Because property values have gone up about $80,000 over the last 4 years, right? So there are not a lot of short sales, but there still are some occasionally. And for us, we take on short sales opportunistically. We're looking specifically for the ones that have a need for a lot of repair. So if you look at the MLS and if you look at all the sales that happen in the MLS, 70% of those sales happen with a mortgage, a loan. And to get a mortgage, the house has to be something a lender calls financeable. And habitable is the term that they use. Yeah, livable, yes, that's what that means, yeah, livable. And if it's not inhabitable, then the lender's not generally going to live on it. And if a lender's not going to lend on it, and if a lender does not lend on it, what's that other 30% of buyers, the cash buyers? That would be everyone in this room, right? And we all use that same investor formula. So those are the ones that we look for. We look for the houses that are a wreck. I'll tell you, I'm not recommending this strategy, okay? And I think I might be being recorded right now. So this is how I'll say this. I'll say, I have heard of some investors who come in and do a little extra demo on a property as it's getting ready to get a BPO, which is a broker price opinion, which is part of the short sale process. In fact, in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit Louisiana, we had a lot of people from Louisiana move here to Austin. And our contractor, who was really big in his church, came up to Phil and I and said, hey guys, I want you to donate a house to a Hurricane Katrina family. And we said, okay. So this contractor came in, renovated the house like in a week, and it was on the news every night, this renovation process that we did with it. And I remember, like, when he was on the news, it was right after we bought it. He's like, "Yeah, I want to do it on this house. This is the perfect house." And I see our house on the news, and our contractor, to kind of make the house look bigger and kind of show this like grander improvement, is standing in the kitchen. And I knew what he did. He took the vent hood, and the vent hood was like kind of a little loose, you know, when we bought it. But he like ripped it. It was like hanging by like wires or something. So he could really like, yeah, we're gonna be renovating this whole house. And I mean, yeah, it's a disaster. And just to kind of, it was so funny. It was really hysterical. But one of the philanthropic things that we got to do as a real estate investor was give that property rent-free to a Hurricane Katrina family for a year, which was really cool. And so sometimes you'll see people make some minor adjustments, right, to a property. That was an example of one. But again, those are the ones that are most exciting. And one of the things that we will do too is we'll leave a copy of a bid on the countertop. So if they do an interior BPO to appraise the property, they conveniently have the repair estimate there waiting for them so that they know what it looks like. Foreclosure auctions. There are fewer foreclosures listed on the market today, and again, that's just a function of how values have gone up. And there was a huge market disruption a few years ago when all of the hedge fund buyers came to Austin and throughout Texas and some other major markets to purchase those properties from the auction. And for the most part, they're gone, but some of those foreclosure opportunities are not there like they used to be. For us, we pursue them if we already have the inside track on them. For us, we pursue them if we have tried to purchase them prior to the auction, but for whatever reason we couldn't get the job done, whether it was getting the title commitment or getting the payoff or the reinstatement, or getting some other lien, lien judgment, whatever, removed in time to be able to close it. So in those opportunistic cases, we will buy at auction. People make an incredible amount of mistakes at auction. You will see people like get in there and just bidding it up, I'm in here, I'm bidding, right? And then realize after they won the bid, well, maybe realize a few days after they won the bid that they actually purchased the second lien. And the order is order in time that the liens are registered. The first lien's always registered, recorded at the courthouse first, and then the second lien is after that. So if you buy a second lien, then you just inherit it, basically bought the property subject to that first lien. Don't make that mistake, right? Please do your due diligence. You can do it all, you can do it all online. Here in Travis County, even in Williamson County. Understand what you're buying. There are some liens that get completely wiped away as part of the foreclosure process, and there are some liens that do not, right? Some of those IRS liens. So please educate yourself, know what that looks like. I'll also add that the later in the year that you buy that property, the more expensive it is, because you get to pay the property taxes, right? So if the property taxes have not been paid, even though you bought that property at the auction in November or in December, you still get to pay the property taxes for the entire year. Congratulations, right? Just know what you're doing before you go. Let's see, some other strategies, wraparound mortgages, the AMP strategy. Again, even when the market is on fire, you will find broke, no equity, motivated sellers who need some way to sell their property. If you have the inside track and can find owner finance buyers, so these are buyers who might not be able to qualify for a loan with their credit or for whatever reason, but they have a down payment and they can afford the monthly payment. These are a great opportunity to place these two people together. Again, this is a disruption that can be in the marketplace sometimes when you don't have loan products for certain buyer types. Many of these buyers don't have social security numbers, they may have I-10 numbers, and many of them don't have social or I-10, but they have a lot of cash. So there's a lot of opportunities specifically here in Central Texas for that. And again, there are fewer opportunities for it when the market is up, but bankers are being more and more creative lately, and specifically, I heard a banker was so proud the other day. He said, listen, I've got this new loan program where for $500, you can get into a house. And I thought, that is scary. Right? You get a buyer in that house with no skin in the game, so if something goes wrong, anything goes wrong, you're just out. Right? Just walk away from it. Versus a buyer with a 20% down payment, then they're going to fight to keep that house, right, or to figure out that problem. But as we create more of these creative lending products to help more people get houses, we're helping people get houses that maybe should not be getting houses. This is their way out and the way to avoid a foreclosure along the way. Lease options, as I mentioned earlier, cool strategy to use as long as you can execute that contract, that purchase in less than 180 days, which is a little bit of a fool's errand because we normally get 3 to 5 years. We used to get 3 to 5 years or longer on a lease option because that's really how long it would take a tenant buyer to get their credit in order as well as get their down payment in order. Having 180 days, this is not enough time for many people to actually be able to fix their credit, so that's why I call it kind of a fool's errand. Now, in Texas, you guys can buy on a lease option all day long, because all of the penalties on a lease option are against the seller. Penalties include up to all of the payments that the tenant buyer made. The penalties include any property taxes. The penalties can include any maintenance. It's very scary. Many of the investors, some of my colleagues who have been investing for a long time, basically stopped their owner finance business, their lease option business, because of this law. And what's the workaround? Well, don't worry, we've got a workaround. We're going to do a wrap, so we're going to do a regular closing. It accomplishes more or less the same thing. And in Texas is the easiest to foreclose state in our nation. And our judges know you do not pay, you do not stay. So that's kind of our workaround. It's more expensive, right? We have to come up with the money then, but it's just as effective. Other strategies, equity partnering. If you know that you're competing against other investors, offer to split some of those profits with the seller. Now, you're still buying it at your price, so you are trading reward for risk. So your risk is going down usually because you're buying it subject to. Sometimes you're even buying it even below your formula. Your seller is trading reward for risk, so they're trying to get more money, but now they're increasing their risk because they're actually playing the game of real estate investor. Whenever you tell a seller you want to partner with them and give them some of the proceeds, yeah. What did you say? You now have my full attention, right? So this is a strategy we use to steal deals away from other investors. Sometimes investors will start with this strategy first, kind of a rookie error, but if you know, like when you have other investors that are coming in, there's a couple different strategies that you use. This is one of those. Listing referrals. Again, if you're a realtor in the room, would you mind please standing? Would you mind please standing if you're a realtor in the room? Yeah. So guys, we have lots of realtors that are part of the association. Many who are educated in the ways of real estate investing, who want to be on your Power Team member. Many of these realtors will list your properties for you that are not your investor properties. You can't make those numbers work on, but are good opportunities for listing. What types of marketing strategies do you use in the market? For those of you guys who have the blueprint, we talk about 60 or 65 different marketing strategies there. I'm just going to kind of sum it down to some of the ones that we see a lot of new investors get started with. We both, people always ask us, well, what marketing strategy should I use? As much as I wish I could give every single one of you the one silver bullet and then we would have all been home like a long time ago, there is no one silver bullet, right? There are several strategies that work, but they don't always work, but they don't work every time, but they always eventually work, right? These are some of those strategies that work, and everyone's going to have a different marketing plan based on how much money they have to throw at the marketing problem and based on how much time they have to throw at the marketing problem. These are just a subset. For those of you guys who have the blueprint, you can see even more that are there. Valuing property in the upmarket. You make your money on the buy as a real estate investor. If you overpay for it, you have a very high probability that you are going to lose money. We see a lot of real estate investors saying, yeah, I know I pay a little bit more for it, but here's how I'm going to solve this problem. I'm just going to do all the work myself. I would like to just stand behind you when you're saying that and just go, mistake! Right? Because every time I see an investor say, it's like the project always takes longer. You don't know the codes. Even the good contractors don't know all the codes. The code for the city of permitting and passing the permits, passing the inspections. It always takes longer, and it can get very painful and very ugly if it takes too long. You have to know what the ARV is, you have to know what the repairs are, you have to know what the maximum allowable offer formula is for real estate investors. And guys, just to be clear, this is only important if you want to make money. Okay? Everyone know the formula?
7% of the
Thank you. 70% of the ARV minus repairs. Yes? Yes, I'm not going to do a pop quiz. Let's see. We never stray from that formula unless it's if the market's going up and it's in a really great area. If it's going to sell quickly, meaning low days on market, low months of inventory. A lot of the product that we create as real estate investors is the product that's getting the top of that market. So we're building, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 houses. The months of inventory for the average price house is 2 months. The months of inventory goes up as your prices go up. That means you will be holding it longer. That means you'll be paying more in property taxes. That means you'll be paying more in holding costs. Great layouts, no complex repairs, meaning foundation, plumbing, electrical, septic, well, and especially we'll pay more if we get some under financing. I know I already showed this slide, but the thing I'm going to add about this one is interesting. So this is also something that the person who put this together for us, one of our colleagues, said to us. Sellers are always 6 months behind. Okay? Sellers are always thinking, well, the house across the street just sold for blah, 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 blah. Or my favorite, well, Zillow says. So when the sellers are 6 months behind, the market's going up, it actually works to your advantage. When the market is flat, it's, you're okay. It's when the market starts to go like this that you have some explaining to do when it comes to how you came up with your offer price. Just understand that seller psychology so that when you have to work with that, you can kind of use proof, logic, facts to overcome that. Who do you need on your power team? You have to have one to be a good real estate investor. These are some of our power team members. You've got to have the money, you've got to have the closing, investor-friendly realtors, contractors, other investors to work with, partner with, bird dogs, mentors, insurance agents, short sale experts, bankruptcy, temporary restraining order, entity formation, AMPS, which is our owner finance experts, CPAs, marketing resource bankers, and brokers. You guys don't think like, and I don't think any of you think this because you're all here. You don't want to do this on your own. You want to do this with a team of other experts surrounding you. It'll save you a lot of time and it'll save you a lot of money. So what do we look for in an up market to be wary of? Look for investors who are bringing you great deals. You guys all made a promise and a commitment to me that you would all do your own analysis and due diligence. That means get your own ARV. That means get your own repairs. That means do your own analysis on days on market and months of inventory. And that means never give anyone a non-refundable deposit unless or until you have completed all of that due diligence. Yes or yes? Yes. Yes or yes? Guys, don't become a motivated buyer and make mistakes before you understand this. And don't listen to the traveling pitchmen who come in here and don't know anything about the local market. Because I'll tell you, every single one of them eventually sends you here because they know nothing about investing in Austin, Texas, but they do know that the local Real Estate Investor Association knows everything about investing in Austin, Texas. Yes? Ask some of the people who have recently been. And remember, always be a student of the market and look for signs that the market's changing and adjust your strategy based on those changes in the market. And guys, it is late. I have a munchkin at home that is waiting for me, and I am going to bid you all good night. Thank you all for coming out. I hope you all decided to join us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you guys so much.